Kalen's claws scraped against the auction block, the sound echoing in the vast, cavernous market. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and fear, a familiar combination in the heart of the Vectar Dominion. Around him, other captives, hulking mammalian warriors, slender avian scholars, even a few crystalline beings, stood in silent resignation. They knew the drill. The Dominion valued strength, precision, order. They valued predictability. Kalen, a human from a backwater world the Dominion had crushed a decade ago, possessed none of those qualities. He was wiry, scarred, and possessed eyes that darted with a restless energy that unsettled the reptilian appraisers circling below. Lot 734, Terran specimen. The auctioneer's voice boomed, a dry rasp that grated on the nerves. Age indeterminate. Physical capabilities below average. Psychological profile erratic. A murmur rippled through the Dominion buyers. They wanted soldiers, laborers, beings who could be controlled. Kalen was a liability. He was the unpredictable variable, a concept the Vectar, with their rigid caste systems and battle-tested doctrines, found utterly baffling. They saw his fidgeting as a sign of weakness, his constant muttering as madness. They didn't understand that his mind was a weapon they couldn't armor against, a weapon forged not of steel, but of chaos. The auctioneer's gavel fell, a sound like a breaking bone. Sold to Lord Voss of the 7th Legion. Kalen was roughly shoved forward, his chains clanking as he was led to the transport vessel. Lord Voss was a massive Vectar, his scales the color of dried blood, his eyes cold and calculating. He spoke only to his subordinates, his commands sharp and absolute. Kalen was to be a janitor, a glorified trash collector on a barren mining moon. It was a death sentence, a way to dispose of a being deemed worthless. The transport was a cold, metal box, and the journey was a silent, suffocating ordeal. Kalen didn't fight. He didn't rage. He simply watched, his mind a whirlwind of disconnected thoughts, a storm of what-ifs and maybes. He memorized the layout of the ship, the routines of the guards, the rhythm of the engines. He saw the patterns, the predictable order that the Vectar held so dear. And he saw the cracks, the tiny, almost imperceptible flaws in their perfect, logical system. A loose panel here, a faulty sensor there, a guard who always took the same route at the same time. They were insignificant details to a Dominion commander, but to Kalen, they were the keys to a prison they didn't even know existed. His unpredictability wasn't a flaw. It was a lens that could focus their rigidity into a single, shattering point. The mining moon was a desolate rock, pockmarked with Dominion labor camps and scarred by strip mining operations. Kalen's job was to haul refuse to the incinerator, a task he performed with a strange, shambling diligence that confused his Vectar overseer. The overseer, a thin, officious creature named Thar, had a particular hatred for Kalen. "You move like a broken machine, creature," Thar would hiss, his tail lashing in irritation. "Your efficiency is an insult to the Dominion." Kalen would simply nod, his eyes downcast, and continue his work. But in the depths of his mind, he was building. He wasn't planning an escape. That was too linear, too predictable. He was weaving a tapestry of random events, a sequence of actions that made no sense, followed in no logic, and yet, somehow, pointed to freedom. He started by accidentally dropping a can of lubricating oil in the path of a patrol skiff. Then he misplaced a power cell from a comms array. He began humming off-key tunes at random intervals, disrupting the eerie silence of the camp. The other slaves saw him as a madman, but the Vectar saw him as a problem, a variable that was introducing entropy into their carefully controlled system. Lord Voss's reports grew more frantic. "The specimen is destabilizing the operational matrix," he wrote. "His actions are illogical, yet they are causing cascading failures." The Dominion's greatest strength was its ability to control and predict. Kalen's greatest weapon was his ability to be neither. The incinerator chamber was Kalen's final stage. It was a place of finality, where waste was turned to ash and forgotten. Thar had grown so obsessed with correcting Kalen's behavior that he had personally assigned him to the most dangerous detail, feeding the compactors. It was a death trap, a series of crushers and plasma vents designed to handle the most volatile materials. On the day of the reckoning, Kalen did everything wrong. He wore the wrong maintenance uniform, one too large, with the sleeves tied in a nonsensical knot. He carried a crate of refuse balanced precariously, its contents a bizarre mix of toxic chemicals and inert slag. He didn't follow the safety protocols. He didn't check the readouts. He just walked into the chamber, humming a cheerful, tuneless song, and dumped the entire crate into the primary crusher. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. The chemicals, never meant to mix, ignited. The plasma vents, clogged with slag, burst. The chamber became a maelstrom of fire and screaming metal. SS Thar roared in fury, his perfect order dissolving into chaos. But Kalen wasn't looking at him. He was looking at the emergency release valve, a component the Dominion had deemed redundant and left in a state of disrepair. A component that, due to the cascading failures Kalen had set in motion weeks ago, was now primed to fail. He slammed his fist against the corroded control panel. The doors didn't open. They sealed. The incinerator, in a final, glorious act of unpredictability, overloaded and exploded, taking the entire labor camp with it. Kalen was thrown clear, not by a plan, but by the sheer, chaotic force of his own making. He lay on the barren ground, the smoke clearing, and for the first time in 10 years, he was free. The Vectar had tried to cage a storm, and all they had done was give it a target.